Good Wednesday morning, January 22nd here, just a little after 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Michael Clark with BAM Weather, and we are going to talk about today the pattern that continues to deliver unprecedented cold, snow chances, storm systems, roller coaster ride into February. We're going to have the outlook. What is the rest of winter looking like? I'm going to talk about it today in a little bit more of a technical discussion and try and really explain it to you as best as I possibly can. Let's get right into it. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us from wherever you see the video from. Share it with a friend as well. Let's get into it right now. This is a look here at radar this morning. You can see the big storm has moved out. A lot of snow left up here across the north central portion of the country system there off to the coast. And look at this, it's unbelievable. This is the air temperature off the Clarity platform this morning. Actual air temperature, -6 in Pennsylvania. Over here in Indiana, 2 degrees. Look at this down here. Okay, let's explore this actual air temperature real quick. Houston, 26. Over here in portions of Louisiana, 15 degrees. Over here in Pensacola, Florida, it's 19 degrees. I mean, it's just not something you see every day. All the way down here into Tampa Bay, Clearwater, it's in the 30s. It's cold. The Arctic air mass has its grip here across the country. And look at this. Look at the observed in the Clarity Pro option. I can look at the observed snowfall here. And I'm going to go over the last 3 days just to kind of highlight what we've seen. Winter in a big way. We've seen the storm system up the northeast coast delivered a swath of 4 to 7 inches of snow up there. Some spots 8-9 inches locally. But this is the big story. I mean, look at this down here again off the Clarity platform. You can see snow totals. You can click on the map, interrogate it. 4 inches in Houston. Are you kidding? And this is the most remarkable part of this. And I would imagine some of this is convection based from the ocean. Look at this in New Orleans. Snowfall data indicating 18 inches of snow in spots. Baton Rouge area, 10 inches. Look at this over here into northwestern Florida. I mean, this is 8-9 foot of snow in Florida. Just unbelievable. Down here in Georgia, just crazy the amount of snow that has fallen with this system. And some of it not all the way registered yet. When we get the new update tonight, we'll see how much snow fell in the Carolinas. But gosh, just remarkable. This is not something you're going to see again anytime soon. We look here in the short term of the forecast, 24-hour rainfall map, the forecast going forward. This updates every hour. You can see it's a relatively calm pattern. There's going to be some snow across the northern tier with the Arctic air, and especially some lake effect snow up here across western Michigan. The forecast the next 7 days calls for another storm system in the deep south, some heavier rains, East Texas, western Louisiana, down there across portions of Mississippi. The snow forecast the next 7 days, I can't even believe it. Data's hinting at snow in Louisiana again. I can't make it up. We'll monitor. We'll look at this. Relatively overall a quieter pattern the next 7 days, but we can't rule out some more action in the south. It's rather remarkable at this point. So we'll talk about it. This is a look here at the Europeans weather model. Again, there's the northern tier snow chances. See that big Arctic high really dominating a lot of the pattern here throughout the end of the week. There's a little bit of a chance here. Again, there's your rain coming in the deep south. That's coming Saturday into Sunday. And then what we want to watch in the extended period, I'll go here to the 0Z run, is the potential for another system in the south. All right, a southern system we want to watch here. This again would be next Wednesday into Thursday for more rain, snow in the northeast again as well. The pattern, what it's done right now, it's been rather discombobulated or disconnected. It hasn't been able to really phase and bring central U.S. snowstorms in. I know why. I have an idea why, and I think I can kind of target when it might come back to that. We'll talk about that here in just a second. This is a look at the precipitation anomalies so far for the month of January. It's been very, very dry in the Midwest, obviously. It's been a dry month from a liquid precip standpoint, if you will, especially obviously the desert south and west there. And then you look at the temperatures. I mean, it's just been really one of the coldest Januaries from a CONUS-wide perspective in many, many years. Just everybody's been cold with the exception of California and Maine. It's just been really cold, and we're just going to add to this right now. Obviously, with this recent shot of Arctic air, we'll continue to add to that. But nonetheless, just remarkable. The cold, everybody in the month of January somewhere has gotten snow. Right. There's been snow somewhere. And again, I can go back to the seasonal observed snowfall plot here from Clarity. And this is the snow winter to date. You've got a big storm down here. You got a ton of snow in the Northeast, especially the interior Northeast. You've had 15 inches here in the Ohio Valley. Really the only places that have missed out a lot is here in the central U.S. But look, almost every state in the country has seen snow. So, winter hasn't been lacking. I want to get into the technical discussion here, and I want you to try and follow along. I'll make it as simple as I can. I want to make sure that we talk about, what the pattern forcing mechanisms are going to be. All right. And you can see here, I have a number of different fancy looking charts. This first one is the global wind forecast. Again, I'm going to simplify this. The global wind forecast, the overall global wind anomaly, if you will, from how we measure that. When it's in a negative state, we correlate that to more of a La Nina behavior. Okay. When it goes into that positive state, this is my pathetic attempt at drawing. We correlate that more to an El Nino behavior. Weather patterns, if you will, may reflect more of El Nino versus La Nina. Global wind pattern is negative for now, looks to go positive. That's going to offer up some variability, some volatility in the pattern, if you will. The Southern Oscillation Index is the measure of the pressure, the surface pressure between Tahiti and Darwin down there in the Pacific Ocean. When it is negative, it is a El Nino-like forcing, right? When it is positive, it is La Nina-like forcing. So right here, recently we've had a positive SOI and a negative AAM, two indications that there's some Nina forcing going on. And then we look at this here. We look at just the latest sea surface temperature departures. These are weak Nina indications. Weak. But you look at the change in the sea surface temperatures. They're warming here. Overall, we've seen a warming pattern here in the water. Now, there's still a lot of cold water beneath the surface. But then you look at the MJO, and you look at the sinking air here, the rising air here, and the forecast going. So you would kind of draw this out going forward. It's going to move across. I think we're going to see a full MJO pass, which is going to really indicate that we're going to feel both probably Enso neutral and La Nina type feelings here into February. But the interesting part is the atmosphere isn't behaving like one or the other. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because we don't have a clear lean on one behavior trait or another in terms of what we typically see in an El Nino or a La Nina. What that kind of helps me do from a forecaster perspective, I have to pick what I'm going to say. I'm forecasting, I'm predicting the future, all right? Just like we predicted all the winter in January, and it's happening. What's going to happen going forward? Well, we want to look at this. I'll move my camera for just a second. I'm going to look at this through a lens of a neutral Enso state, all right? Because there's indications of both a little bit. And when we look at that for the MJO forecast, it'll help us. Now, I look at verifications from the constructed analog model. Here was the forecast from 2 weeks ago. Here was the outcome. Yeah, pretty good, right? Pretty good. Constructed analog doing pretty good right now. All right. Here's the forecast going forward. Holy shnikes, that's a big high amplitude MJO. Your dynamical model data is more like in here. You could say, nonetheless, we're going 4, 5, and 6 in the MJO here over the course of really the next 20 days. No question. Okay. MJO 4, it's going to feature a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a warm-up, which we're seeing in the models in the 11 to 15. We're seeing a warm-up in the 11 to 15 day and some ridging there. MJO 5, we're seeing the establishment really of the southeastern ridge. but the EPO and the North Pacific block wanting to hang around in a February phase 5 neutral ENSO analog. Okay, not La Nina, not El Nino. And we see this signal here, all right, with the trough and the ridge to the south and east. Okay, and then MJ06, which is interesting. We still see the gradient, the southeastern ridging, and we still see the trough here, but we see some blocking trying to come back into the Arctic Circle, and there's indications of that, which would lead me to believe that as we got into phase 6, which is probably going to be sometime between the 5th and let's call it the 5th and the 15th of February, maybe more like the 5th through the 10th, but just to be safe. The high latitude blocking of some sorts can come back, and some more phasing of the winter storms may be up on the table. All right, we may see some more linked up winter storms more into the central U.S., the Midwest, and we'll talk about that in a second, versus being deep south or northeast. Okay, indications are what does it mean? Well, it's an up and down pattern. That's what it means. It's up and down. Okay, roller coaster ride. You're going to have, with the troughs that swing through in these patterns, they're going to feature cold, because we have a tap to the cold with the location of the tropospheric polar vortex, which again I will talk about in just a moment. Okay, going here to looking at seasonal correlations with different types of pattern drivers. Top left, you have the TNH. The positive TNH for February indicates southeastern ridging. A lot of cold here, a lot of cold. Okay, available for tap as a storm system comes through. It can drag that cold right down with it. This looks like the models. It looks like the MJO. Over here to the right is the angular momentum. The problem with this correlation, it stops in 2014. It shows the generalized idea: warmer risks south and east, colder air available to the north. Here's your Nino 3.4 correlation. Okay, again, look at this, negative Nino 3.4 right now. There's the cold, there's the gradient, and then here's your SOI. So you can see a lot of indications really of February having this type of setup. And what I'll mention about February is in the coldest Januaries on record, rolling those into February, they're all historically, they stay cold with plenty of opportunities of cold. I think the cold outweighs the warmth in February, but I think there's bouts of warmth ahead of storm systems. It's going to be one of those months where it's up and down and up and down. We're gonna battle that, but I think we're gonna battle a couple of big bouts of winter too in February. We're not done. We're not done. Again, I mentioned more of a technical discussion, and again, I'm going to keep this as simple as I can. But we've identified a pattern in the vertical and zonal look of the transports of the angular momentum. So what does that mean? We've identified a pattern, and basically what's telling us when we can have linked up storm systems with high latitude blocking and disconnected flow, and the lack of phasing with the lack of blocking. If you're in the pink here, all right, these are indications of negative wind anomalies. Again, I'm trying to keep this simple. In the higher latitudes, blocking, big storm systems, cold. Okay, when you go into the black here, you've got positive wind anomalies in the higher latitudes. You lose the blocking, you lose the phasing. You bring it back here. These are in about 15-day chunks, by the way, 15-day to 20-day chunks. It comes back. That's what we're dealing with right now. If you consider a lag to this particular pattern right here has featured winter storms, because this started late December, early January. It's about a 15 to 20-day pattern here. You can see the time correlation at the bottom. It's featured a ton of snow and cold. You've seen it. We've all seen it everywhere. Every freaking state's seen snow. We're going back to this where the models are backing off on snow right now over the course of the next couple of weeks, and they're getting a little bit milder. And that's going to happen until we repeat this pattern, we think, sometime around that 5th through the 15th of February, when that blocking comes back due to the favorable wind patterns in the higher latitudes. Okay? So hopefully you're following. Again, that's as simple as I can make this. This is a very complex, complicated chart, the elements of which frictional torque and global wind anomalies and transports, there are things that we still don't know a lot about as well, but we can identify patterns. Okay, so what is that telling us? Well, here's what it's telling us. This is the outlook for February if you use part of the European weekly model. Okay, and you can see that it's boding cold. It's leaning cold. All right, we go here to the United States in general. I'll zoom this in a little bit. It's leaning a colder look here for the month of February, with the in-betweens, with the ups and downs. And for entertainment purposes, you know, you can look at snow. You can look at what it might have to offer up. Okay, there's plenty of snow here. Note the hole. Those are always entertaining runs. You can look at multiple runs at snow over really the rest of winter. And the takeaway from the multiple last several runs is there's plenty of pattern left here to indicate there can be a lot of snow. Okay, a lot of potential winter storm activity can continue. Just looking at maps, that these are real. It's just more so for entertainment or ideas, but hopefully you understand what I'm getting at here. Go back to the weekly and just look at the precipitation departures over the next 46 days. And again, I like this from an analog perspective because the years we're using rolling into February continue to indicate this right in through here. Okay, this may start to calm a little bit. All right, so hopefully you're hanging with me. Here's the other reason why I think that storm systems can bring cold. The tap into the not only the tropospheric vortex, but the stratospheric polar vortex continues to hang out on our side of the hemisphere. If I could take this all the way out into the end of this run, any storm system that comes through here, any low pressure system that decides to start and track right in through this area and bring a cold shot with it, it has a direct tap into the vortex. It's going to bring cold in with it. It's going to have warmth out ahead of it. But the vortex is not all wrapped up and consolidated over here in the other side of the hemisphere. It's not. And so that's why you're going to continuously have the availability for Arctic air blasts. Look at the tropospheric polar vortex 500 millibar layer all the way out to day 15. Okay? This is incredible. This is the tropospheric polar vortex right here, right over Greenland and the Hudson Bay. So you've got a tap readily available for any storm systems that start to come through that will offer up the potential at cold air. All right? So what does this mean? Well, let's sum this up. This has been a longer video, but again, I wanted to describe this to you the best I possibly could. We'll look here at the, that's precipitated all here. I'm sorry. Let's go to the anomaly just real quick so I can kind of paint this picture for you. You can see over the next couple of weeks, the pattern's calm without in the deep south, but a change occurs. As the MJO moves, the pattern gets active further north again. As we get into February, this area here you're continuing to see green will bring back the risk of snow, warm out ahead, cold behind. Hopefully you got the drift here. There you go. Okay, can't explain that any more clearly than I have. Winter's not done. Top February analog pattern drivers right now continue to indicate this positive TNH pattern, Pacific blocking, southeast ridge. There's a gradient. There's a baroclinic zone, a battle zone in there where there will continue to offer up chances for storms. Is it Minnesota, Chicago, Indy, Louisville, frickin' New Orleans? I don't know right now. I think it's further north into February, more Midwest, Northeast focused, but that's the idea. Here's the analogs in terms of, and I mentioned in my video last week, if there's going to continue to be heavier snow risks into the month of February, those are really going to be up and through here, if you ask me. Okay, the coldest risk is going to be up and through the Great Lakes and the northern plains. Here's your warmer risk right in through here. It can be warmer at times, but this is your snow risk, your winter risk here into February. It's not done. It's still alive and well, and that's kind of the look at our week 3 and 4 forecast. You can kind of see that right now, pretty plain and simple. Okay, above. Look at the precipitation, and you can see what we're talking about there. So that's my discussion today. Share it with a friend. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, I know it's a much longer one, but I wanted to really try and iron out that we don't believe it's finished yet. There's more cold to come, and we'll keep you posted. Take care.